Welcome to the Great Basin Seasonal Outlook for May through August 2019. This is Gina Palma. Over the last 30 days, we've seen warmer temperatures over the southern two-thirds of the Great Basin and some cooler weather over central Idaho into eastern Idaho and Wyoming. Precipitation has also shifted further north with a storm track over the northern tier of the United States, bringing above normal precipitation over the last 30 days to Idaho, Wyoming, and parts of northern Utah and northern Nevada, with much drier conditions and well below normal precipitation over the southern portions of the Great Basin. Looking at our precipitation since October 1st, 2018, the beginning of the water year, and you can see really above normal precipitation across all of the Great Basin, especially across Nevada, Utah, and the Arizona Strip, with precipitation a little bit closer to normal, however, has increased in the last 30 days in the northern areas. Looking at our snowpack, we still have well above normal snowpack across the higher elevations of Nevada and Utah, and above 150% of normal. Snowpack is a little bit closer to normal as you move further north up into Idaho and Wyoming. Looking at our drought conditions with the wet weather we've seen certainly over the spring and winter, it's no surprise that we have no drought across the Great Basin. Still some areas of abnormally dry conditions in far southeast Utah and the Four Corners area. However, even those areas have seen some improvements over the last several months. How our dead fuel moisture is affected, looking at first our 10-hour fuel moistures, a little bit more representative of our fine fuels. And you can see fuel moistures are really elevated across much of the northern areas and even across Utah and the southern areas with moisture recently. However, have seen drier conditions over parts of central and northern Nevada into southern Idaho. However, we do have a storm system moving through the last part of April into the early part of May, which will bring some cooler temperatures and precipitation to even these areas. 100-hour fuel moistures are in the moderate range, really region-wide, and 1,000-hour fuel moistures are driest in the south and very moist as you move further north up into the Great Basin with the snowpack in place. If we look at some of our ERC conditions, you can see starting off in the western sides of the Great Basin, ERCs are close to where we were last year and are below normal. And then looking over the northern and southern areas of the Great Basin, again, we're seeing generally near to below normal ERCs in those areas as well. Now that we've looked at the recent and current conditions, we'll move on to the outlook over the next several months. First, over the next couple of weeks, looking into the first and second week of May, we will continue to see above normal temperatures over western areas, but still this above normal precipitation signature across much of the United States with the exception of the Pacific Northwest. So again, much of the Great Basin will see above normal precipitation here as we go into the first half of May. So we've talked a lot about El Nino and La Nina, so where are we this time as we enter the fire season? Right now we're looking at warm conditions in the equatorial Pacific waters, showing us a weak El Nino continuing through much of this year, potentially even through the end of the year. What this usually means for our weather as we're starting in El Nino is very variable weather as we go through the fire season, meaning some areas will see warm, dry conditions followed up by stormy conditions bringing some showers and thunderstorms. We will likely see this teeter-tottering of weather as we go through much of at least the first half of the fire season, if not even longer. This will delay some of our curing process in some areas and also will bring some much needed relief as we get into some of the warmer months. So looking at our 1 month outlook taking us through May, again keeping this warm and wet signature across much of the Great Basin is expected through much of the month of May. And if we go into the 3 month outlook taking us from June through August, you can see still the warm temperatures and still this above normal precipitation signature, which might be shifted a little bit further to the east and north as we get later in the summer. However, still we're looking at this more variable weather pattern where we're not expecting very long periods of hot, dry conditions, more shorter periods followed by chances of showers and thunderstorms, bringing again some lightning, but also some relief to many areas. So as we put all the pieces together, looking at what we've just seen, our outlook for May shows below normal fire potential in our higher elevations of the Sierra into central and northern Utah and up into eastern Idaho, where our snowpack is still well above normal, so that will take some time for that snow to melt. We could see some above normal fire potential over parts of southern Nevada into far southwest Utah and far western areas of the Arizona Strip, as these areas have seen good amount of winter and spring precipitation, bringing more fine fuel growth in these areas than what we would normally see. And this has also been the drier side of the Great Basin and will continue to be the drier side of the Great Basin as we go through the month of May. So we may see a little bit more fire activity than normal as we move through this month. As we move into June, this above normal potential may extend across southern Utah, again keeping that drier signature over southern areas of the Great Basin. However, we'll still see below normal potential in the higher terrain of the Sierra and the Utah mountains up into Idaho. Again, still waiting for that snow to melt and for conditions to dry out. As we move into July, we really don't have any above normal fire potential at this time. We will continue to watch southern areas. If the monsoon is a little bit delayed or weaker, we may still have some above normal potential into July over parts of southern Utah. We also will continue to watch the lower terrain of northern Nevada into northern Utah. Again, we have had a wet winter and spring. We've also had some lower elevation snowpack, which likely will compact a lot of our carryover fuels from the last couple of years. So we will lose some fuel loading in some areas as we lose the carryover. However, the new growth with the precipitation we've seen and will continue to see will still be a concern. Initially, that growth will be fairly short, but it will be continuous in many areas, so we will keep an eye on these lower elevations and the weather pattern. If we continue with these periods of dry versus wet through much of the summer, that may limit some of our fire potential. But if we do see longer periods or stretches of hot, dry conditions, that will be something to watch as we go into July and eventually August. That concludes our webcast for the monthly seasonal outlook. Check back on the 1st of next month for the updates.